The majority of people also don't know what this word means. They assume that anyone who's harmed a child in that way is automatically this. But this is only about attraction. There's a lot of different motives for harming children than just attraction. Sadism, like you said, power, control, narcissism. But for people who have this attraction, there are people who have never acted on it, who have never harmed anybody. And the way we sustain that is through long-term psychotherapy. There's medications that reduce drive. There's medications that reduce testosterone. But we need to encourage people to do that. We need to encourage that. And you cannot encourage that if you're saying, if I ever heard someone tell me they thought like that, I would insert whatever crazy violent act people say here. Like, that's not encouraging people to get over into the doctor's office and say, hey, I got a bit of a problem in my brain. But this conversation is so uncomfortable that people do not want to learn about this shit. They would rather learn about ways they can hide their fucking kid than how to stop the source of the issue. So what? You hide your kid so that there's other fucking kids that aren't as hidden? Like, no, that's not helping anything. And like I said in the original video, another motivation people have is if they were also assaulted as a child and they now have such fucked up trauma that they think that that's normal and that's how you show love. So like, there's victims of this that are not being protected from the impact of that trauma on their fucking psyche. So if you're a person who struggles with this, struggles with harming yourself or anyone else or having thoughts about it, Google it, find a support group. Dead ass. I've been in some BPD support groups, it's good. And a lot of people will say, oh, you're just getting a bunch of people together so they can brainstorm how to be sickos. Dude, I've been to SA as an anonymous as the last word, not assault. You know what I'm fucking talking about, maybe not, I don't know. But there is support groups. BPD support groups are not a bunch of people sitting around fantasizing how they can fulfill their ideation. Do you know what I mean? Thank you. You can also be taught this. There is people who have that attraction that is not innate to their fucking selves. They're taught by society that that's a thing that happens often, so often that it's the victim of its responsibility to ensure that it doesn't happen. And if they're not doing that, then it's practically a fucking invitation. So again, this is not, people have this idea that people who harm children in that way are, because this can't be cured. You can be treated, but you can't cure it. So people assume that everyone who harms a child has a psychological disorder and they are permanently fucked. Like, all of them are permanently twisted in the head. But there's people who have learned this. There's people who, like, it's a trauma. Like, there's people who like power and control and who, like, literally unalive people and shit. And they go to jail and they can rehabilitate themselves. Like, this is like mass school poo-poo-pooers. Boomers, you know what I'm talking about? Because we need them to tell us that they're thinking about doing that before they fucking do it. Right? And when they tell you that, you can't be like, I don't want to hear that, what the fuck? You need to be like, okay, we're gonna get you some help. Let's go. It's just so frustrating to me, though. Some girl went off in the comment section on this video being like, you're suggesting you can cure this. No. She also said, this is just like psychopaths and sociopaths who have homicidal thoughts. Okay, but sociopaths and antisocial personality disorder and stuff like that, not the only disorder that can cause those types of thoughts. People with depression can also have those types of thoughts. I was put on an ADHD medication called Concerta, and I had those types of thoughts. I wasn't thinking about harming myself anymore. I was projecting that in a different place. but you have therapy. And I'm not suggesting that, like, me getting off the med was a cure to make that stop. I went and got help because it can be helped. Maybe it can't be eliminated, but it can be treated forever. And again, this isn't a guarantee. If there's people who have this shit and don't give a fuck and don't want to change and don't want to fuck it, they don't give a fuck, yeah, they're permanently fucked. Because they are what, but there's people who do not want to be like this. I just don't get how people listen to me say this and are like, you're evil! Like, your route is to wait until they commit the crime, find out who they are, and then lock them up to infinity. I would like to take it a step prior. Let's not wait until the harm has been done. Let's encourage intervention before. How do I explain this to people so they get it? I don't know. The stigma is just so huge that people aren't able to, like, critically think about it. Like, everyone assumes that if you, again, it's interesting, because if the crime is actual in nature, people say you can never be rehabilitated. But if it's just violent, people think you can be rehabilitated? You know? And again, obviously this shit is horrible. Duh. And that's why I'm trying to prevent it. And obviously history and research has shown that the current methods people are endorsing aren't fucking doing shit.